All right, we did it. We made an entire album for our summer to document all the fun memories in summer. I thought I would include the final lesson as a walkthrough so I can show you how I use the various components to bring it together. Because I know I only showed you June, how I brought together the month for June, but now you can see July and August, and I'm excited to show you. And I can't wait to see your guys' albums, and I hope that you share them as well. All right, let's get started on walking through this. Okay, we open with the summer stories, and I put in a journaling card and also a sun. Folded these up to give it a little more dimension. Then we open right into June. This is where I decided to put the monthly divider for June, since I go right into the adventures, and putting it right here wouldn't make sense. So I'm just gonna put it here. And then next you have the divider. When I talked about dividers in the lesson, I told you that there's a variety of ways to make your divider. It could be a photo, stamping, journaling. It could be blank if you wanted it to be. So there's a wide range of what you can do with your dividers. Adventures. This one had the flip pocket, and I showed you how to make the dragonflies and stamp to mimic this physical card. I showed you the memorabilia and how I made a hinge so that way I wouldn't cover up some of the words. Starting in on water, and I kick it off with Father's Day at the beach. Celebrating the last day of school and swim lessons. I have one more piece of memorabilia, and I showed you how I used a little bag and also a little leftover digital piece so that way I could cover up some adhesive. Parks, this is the only month with the parks section, so I just put a little divider and I stamped a bunch of stamps to coordinate that came from this same kit. Another little section of parks, and then we move on to friends. I kept the rainbow so that way I had some consistency. It's on all three pages. It's on this one as well. So friends, and then I just did kind of a mix of digital, puffy, word strip, and stamping. A big variety to bring one card together to document various stories. And then a collage as well, so that way I didn't have to include lots of page protectors. Another friend story, and I used a bunch of digital pieces to bring it together. Books, 2 little photos. That was a favorite way of mine to make a divider, is photos, and then a little cluster, and then a large 4x8. I did this a lot because I explained to you my favorite page protectors. I can't find them anywhere, so I just use a 4x6 paper and mat the 3x4 photos on there, and then add something to kind of tie those pieces and photos together. Family, once again using collages because I don't want to use a lot of page protectors. I just want to get the memories documented, and you can still see the pictures, and they're still awesome pictures even in small format. For this one, I just put the tab right on this little insert. This is the local section, and I used a card right here to talk about it since I had a collage up here and a photo here. More local 4x8 photos that I just had to blow up. My kids had a shopping spree at Dollar Tree and they were so thrilled. It's the little things, right? And then my daughter loves fresh farmers market strawberries. We also had a local parade, so I just made a little collage for that because none of these photos needed to be very big. It's just cars going by, and I just decided a collage would be best. And then summer camp, and this one you can pull out and flip it up for another hinge so you can see the start and end of summer camp. And I just love how I noticed that they're wearing the same shoes on Monday and Friday. So funny. All right, here we go for July. I just put the insert right here, pop dotted all the numbers, and I decided to use the thin paper. I think I mentioned that in the process video, but I used the thin paper, that way it wouldn't have more bulk. Start on the adventure section, and then just 3 rows of stamps right there, and then a little flip pocket to show my favorite photos of my kids. Starting on 4th of July, down at the town hall. Then the family 4th of July, and I showed you all the stamping tricks in an earlier lesson. Made all my own cards for this layout. Same thing with here. I just used a variety of stamp inks to make this card, and then this one I just tilted. Same thing there. And one last little adventure, bike rides with my husband, and then we move on to water. I decided to put the photos here since they correspond with water. This one was really fun to make. I had this bright card, so I had to think of a way to bring in bright colors to the rest of this spread. So I decided to stamp this same phrase, loving these moments, on a piece of paper, and then I could use it for here, here, and here. And it was a really fun way to make my own pattern paper that was just as bright and colorful as this. I also used a large shape behind the sun to kind of give the sun a place to anchor and not be floating on this card. This starts the friends section, and I used a mix of digital and then chipboard stickers. And I just did a couple different stamps for the friends. And then this one, I did lots of hearts on this one. I messed up on the journaling, and I just didn't like the way it was looking, and so I decided to get a piece of paper and I just covered it up. And that's okay. I didn't throw the journaling card away. I didn't stress about it. I just got an extra piece of paper, put it over, and then just redid my journaling and moved on. Another friends page with a collage. I didn't know what to put here. I wasn't quite sure, but I decided to just shrink this down in Photoshop Elements and put it there, and that'll be good enough. Another library section. This time I just did a little cluster of different pieces, leftover paper, chipboard, die cut, transparency. And then right here I just documented our winning the medals for the library program. And a stack of all our books. Now we move into August. Start with a family 6x8 photo and adventures. Lots of stamping here in the same green color. I even included a selfie of myself because that's how I get myself in the photos a little bit more. More adventures. Kept this one really simple with a digital piece and 2 stickers. This one was our last big hurrah. It was a day at Six Flags, so I used a mix of stamps, word strips, and digital pieces. Lots of 4x8s for this one, and even a collage right here. And then I love this rainbow photo right here. And then moving on to water. This time I did a continuation of this spread over here because I had this awesome photo of my son jumping in the sprinkler, and I used a leaf stamp to make grass, and I just went with green monochromatic. Celebrating a birthday, and I had a lot of fun making these cards as well. For the back of this, I used the same colors as here and just documented one last little get together for my son and his friends. And then finishing the friends section, and now we move into one last section of local. These were all kind of random local photos, but I decided I wanted to include them because it's kind of marking the end of summer, especially with the soccer season starting. So a few local photos, and then we finish it out. And this is just my kids. We have a story to tell, and they wrote their cards. I had them write cards for their top 4 moments, but they didn't want me to share them, so. And then I have one last card that says, I love how summer just wraps its arms around you like a warm blanket, and I included an extra photo. And that's it. that is the album. So I hope you enjoyed this walkthrough, and I hope it gave you even more ideas, and I hope it inspires you to keep going on documenting your summer. And I hope you enjoyed all the lessons in my class on how to build your own summer album. I had a lot of fun teaching you and bringing this together with you. All right, thank you.